And I'm on tour in London. The wreckage of EgyptAir Flight 804 has been found. The airline's vice president tells me debris has been spotted in the sea and a search and recovery mission is underway near the island of Carpathos. That means the recovery word that all on board are presumed dead, and next of kin are being notified now. U.S. officials tell CNN that the early theory is that a bomb took down the plane. The flight left Paris late last night and was en route to Cairo when communication stopped. There was no distress signal. Greek officials say the plane swerved and plunged into the sea. 66 people were on board, including 3 children. The majority of the passengers came from France and Egypt, but from many other countries as well. Devastated families rushed to the airport searching for answers. And just moments ago, I got much more detail from the vice president of EgyptAir, Ahmed, Adel, who's a former pilot himself. He broke the news to me that the wreckage has now been found. Captain Ahmed Adel, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
We just first want to say, obviously, that we are really sorry for the loss, obviously, of all those people and the EgyptAir passengers and crew. What can you tell us about the very, very latest of figuring out what happened?
First of all, our heart goes out for all the family members and friends of all involved in this terrible incident. As I can tell you now that we have found the wreckage. We confirmed that the wreckage has been found. And the search and rescue teams are now it's turning into a search and recovery.
Can you tell us where the wreckage exactly was found? How much of the wreckage? What makes you sure that it is this?
I just got the phone call that the wreckage has been found before going on air with you right now. So all the details, I don't have it on hand right now.
You have said, you know, and perhaps nobody's surprised that this is now a recovery operation. You believe everybody to have been killed. What is your working hypothesis as to what happened? Why did this plane come down?
Our main concern right now is taking care of the families and friends of all those perished in this tragedy. It is early to speculate. As you know, you have conducted a lot of these interviews. We have to gather all the facts. Once the facts are put on the table, everything will be on the table. There will be a thorough investigation, full transparency, and we will update everyone with whatever happened.
Do you plan to release the passenger manifest? And when would that happen?
Yes. We are now in the process of contacting next of kin. Once that process is finished and complete, we will release the passenger manifest.
How long do you think that might take?
As you know, it's a very difficult process, so I would think we should be finished by maybe later this evening.
You are a pilot. What could you must have prepared for all eventualities. What would cause that? Describe why a plane, how a plane would do a 90 and then a 360 and then drop.
There could be many, many reasons. All I can tell you is our crews are very well trained. We have one of the state-of-the-art training centers. We abide by all international rules. So there is no explanation for me to give you at this stage. I need to look at more facts and more investigations to have an idea about what happened.
Now, your Ministry of Aviation, I believe the Minister himself earlier today, suggested that based on everything that's known so far, it looks much more like a terror attack than any other sort of natural or mechanical disaster. Have they told you that? Because that is what they've said in public.
I don't believe that this was said. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. I did not hear that. But I can tell you that now, at this stage, EgyptAir's main concern is the family and the friends of those who were perished. We are offering a lot of facilities. We are opened our facilities with our SAT teams, the assistance team. They are all very well trained.
I need to put this to you again, because there's obviously a difference of impression as to what your aviation minister said. He basically said, and I'm quoting practically verbatim, that when you analyze everything that happened, everything that we know, the likelihood of terror is much higher than a technical failure. That is what he said.
I did not hear that, but I would say if you analyze everything thoroughly, and you put it on the table, everything is out there.
Did you know anybody on board? How are you, as vice president of this company, as a former EgyptAir pilot, how are you feeling?
It's a very, very sad time. It's a very sad feeling. We're trying to hold on, and we're trying to move forward and see what happened and make a thorough investigation to see what caused this crash.
Captain Adel, again, it's hard to talk about these things at this time, but obviously you're clearly very emotional about this, and so is everybody concerned. But the thing is, there have been terror attacks directed at aircraft in Egypt. I mean, the very latest one, of course, was the Metrojet, the Russian jet that took off from Sharm el-Sheikh months ago. And just a couple of weeks ago, you had an EgyptAir sort of pretend fake hijack situation that was resolved in Cyprus. You know, there are a lot of these threats against your aviation. What can you tell us about that? And is that a major concern for you as an airline?
As you know, security concerns are a major concern for every airline on this planet right now. Terror exists everywhere. It's definitely something that we are concerned about. It's definitely something that we take a lot of mitigations. We have good security. We have security collaborations with everyone around the world. We are part of an international organization, and we abide by international security laws.
You say you have good security cooperation. This particular flight, I believe, did an Eritrea, Tunisia, Paris, Cairo. Where, tell me about security. In each of these locations, is the entire plane swept? Who's able to get on board and get off?
Well, I can tell you that every time the aircraft returns to base or lands at anywhere, any airport out of base, it gets thoroughly checked. It's a checklist that's done by, there's a security check that's done by the cabin crew, there's a security check that's done by the cockpit crew, airport authorities, ground personnel. So in each and every destination that you have mentioned where the aircraft has stopped, it was checked, and then once it takes off and lands in another airport, all of the checks are done from the beginning again.
Do you cast any doubts or questions on any of the security agents aboard, or some of the crew on board, or passengers?
No, that's a negative.
Did you know anybody on board, Captain Adel?
Yes, of course. I had the pleasure of flying the captain on the flight. Flew as my first officer for several years.
What can you tell us about him?
He's a very well trained, high disciplined captain, and he has 6,000 hours total flying hours, 2,000 on this type, good reputation, and he was a colleague of mine, yes.
Because you know why I'm asking you, again, it's painful, but we've had an EgyptAir line that went down off the coast of the United States in 1999. We've had, you know, the Malaysia Airlines that went down, and there's always a question about who was at the controls and what might have been, you know, potentially any motivation for foul play.
I understand you asking these questions, but again, we need to have the facts. Since I told you that the debris of the aircraft has been spotted, I believe that in this area we can get the cockpit voice recorders and the digital data flight recorders, and we can get all the information we can, and we're going to move forward from there.
Can you try to explain for us the 30 or 45 minutes of lack of contact between air traffic control and the pilots?
Well, the facts that I have is that the pilot, the captain, reported his lost position to Greek ATC, air traffic controllers, and then they tried when he moved into Egyptian airspace, they tried to contact him, and there was no reply. And then they informed Greek airspace ATC, and they tried to contact him, and this is when the communication was lost. Mm-hmm. It was somewhere between 2:30 a.m. and 2:45 a.m. Cairo local time. which is 30 minutes past midnight in GMT.
And if you can explain to me a little bit more about the wreckage and what has been found and where is the wreckage being found?
As I told you, it was found somewhere on the FIR borders between Greek and Egypt, and I don't have any further information as I got the call right before going on the interview with you.
Was this plane in good nick? It was healthy? It had passed all its, mechanical tests? How old was it?
The plane was produced in 2003. It was delivered to EgyptAir on the 3rd of November 2003. So it's a relatively new plane. The age of the plane goes up to 20 and 25 years old. This was around 15, 16 years old. We checked, all the maintenance checks were done in good time. All the maintenance schedule of the aircraft was done on time. There was no snags or anything that was reported from Cairo to Charles de Gaulle in Paris. And then again, from Charles de Gaulle to Cairo, there was no snags reported in the technical log of the aircraft. No complaints.
And why haven't French officials been able to come to Egypt yet? I understand they've asked. This is obviously an Airbus made in France. It originated in France. There were French passengers on board as well. Why has Egypt not yet sought their help or invited them in?
I'm sure they're going to be involved. By international law, you involve the country where the aircraft is registered, the country where the aircraft is manufactured, and the country where the aircraft crashed. So this is a matter of time.
Well, Captain Ahmed Adel, Vice President of EgyptAir, on a difficult day, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you.
And a lot of difficult questions to grapple with as well for Egypt and the Egyptian aviation authorities. The aviation minister did say earlier today